shocking about the thing came out of it.
Very good. How are you?
That's what follows it in this big block. Is that block of text that you come to in the internet, the thing that you're actually working on, or is it something else? It's just that one word, right?
Everything has to be interpreted first. told me they studied French in high school with a Yiddish accent.
Hamburg. Okay, here we go. The Hamburgs, a very musical family to say the least, arrived in Toronto in 1910. The father, Michael Hambourg, had been a professor at a Russian university, and he was a talented piano teacher. He soon became a member of this club, and according to the Toronto Globe, quote, he was frequently called upon to contribute to the program of a musical night. Michael died 6 years later. He and his wife had 7 children. The Hambourg Conservatory of Music stood at the northeast corner of Wellesley and Sherbourne Street. There's a handsome library there. That building's gone. The family lived on the 3rd floor. By 1914, 4 years after they arrived, the faculty comprised 20 teachers of piano, 11 of voice, 8 of violin, 4 of theory, 2 each of cello, organ, flute, mandolin, banjo, and composition. There were nearly 500 pupils. By 1918, there were branches of the conservatory flourishing throughout Toronto. So there was Mark Hambourg, the oldest son. He was born in 1879. He was a musical genius, not surprisingly given his family background. His father's talents, of course, along with 2 of his uncles who were piano teachers, and his mother was a voice teacher. When he was 16, he headed off on a concert tour to Australia, the first of many world tours he enjoyed throughout his life. Jan was a violinist. When asked why the Hamburgs had settled in Toronto, he replied that this was because his brother Mark had urged them to do so. According to Mark, there was an appreciation of art and money in Canada, particularly in Toronto. This always stops me in my tracks, which he considered was the most foremost musical city in Canada and showing the best prospects, indeed, in that respect, of any city in America. Then there was Boris, a cellist. He was on our board when we first moved into this building in 1920. Sir Ernest Macmillan said, quote, I first heard Boris play in Edinburgh before the First World War. I was struck with the fine musicianship of Boris and the Hamburg Trio. During the 40 years of his membership in the Arts and Letters Club, he contributed greatly to the activities of the club, and it is to be noted that when he was asked to partake in anything, he made it appear that he was receiving a favor rather than giving one. Members would say, Boris did not bore us. So our members were thrilled to see a Hamburg banner among these priceless banners created by J.E.H. MacDonald of the group of 7. The one we see bearing the cello, the far end of that wall, is about Boris, who was on the board. All of the banners up here were the people who were on the board when we moved in 1920. The ones on the other side are the first presidents of the club. They're priceless artifacts, needless to say, and we cherish them. And this evening, I'm fortunate to have the one who bears for one Boris achievement for his son, violinist Dr. Clement Hambourg, Professor Emeritus in Music. Born in Ottawa, then he taught strings in Peterborough, and in 1969 was the founding conductor of the Peterborough Symphony Orchestra. You'll be hearing from him right now. It's my pleasure to introduce Clement Hambourg.
Thank you very much, Margaret. It's really such a joy to be here this evening and to be partaking of this wonderful event. And before we get things underway, I do feel that I need to express thanks to certain people, club members in particular, who were responsible for getting what I call the renaissance of the Hambourg Conservatory up and going. And the first person I want to recognize is Jim Nogga. Yes, our own Jim Nogga. He got in touch with me a couple of years ago and he said, now look here, we've got a lovely new library on the former site of the Hambourg Conservatory, and I think we should do something about it. So we got together and we made arrangements to have a painting put up in that library and a description of the Hambourg Conservatory, and that's all taken place now after I formed a committee to get that done. But it was Jim who did the very first step in getting it underway. Now the next step was with George Hume, our own George Hume. He's here tonight, and he did us a lovely painting of the building from a photograph, and that now hangs in the St. Jamestown Library. So that's wonderful. Then we had formed a committee to get this thing started, and there was Margaret McBurney, and Ezra Shabas belonged to the committee, a few other people who are not here tonight, and who arranged for the installation of this painting in the St. Jamestown Library. Now that's perhaps step number one. Now, we came along with the idea of a website. Why not have a Hambourg Conservatory website? And if not, then why not have a Hart House String Quartet website? And so what we've done is we've got the two websites going on at the same time. And the person responsible for all of this is our own Carol Anderson, and she's just done a magnificent job of getting the website up. And if any of you, some of you have seen it, but if you haven't, I strongly urge you to take a look, because it really gives a wonderful overview of the Hamburgs and the Conservatory and the quartet. And I stay with Carol for a moment, because it's not only the website design, but tonight you may realize that we have a very lovely program. We also have posters, and of course all that beautiful slideshow that we had. That was all her initiative. And so I will say thank you very much to her. And I want to mention one more person is Edward Houseman. Now Edward and his wife Marion are here tonight. Edward wrote, first of all, he wrote an article in the Toronto Daily Star in the 1960s. Who remembers the Hambourg Conservatory? That was a really great article. And now more recently he's done an acrylic of the Hamburg Trio, which announces the first page of our website. It's on the first page of our website. So if you want to see that, you can also see it there. And of course, Eric Koch and his lovely little book, the Brothers Hamburg, so well researched. I want to mention that too. So indeed, all these people have contributed in their own special way to making all this possible tonight. And I want to give everybody, and I also want everybody concerned to stand while we give them a good round of applause. Margaret is coming back, or I should be introducing our first guest speaker. Frank Bridge were again one of Boris's favourite trios, and we used to play them often, sometimes to end a programme, as we are doing tonight, and I think you'll enjoy them very much.
Thank you.